In the stillness of night in Bethlehem, Saint Joseph slept beside Mary, unaware that danger was already moving. He was not a man of visions or speeches, but when God spoke to him in dreams, he listened without hesitation. That night, Saint Joseph's rest was broken by a dream unlike any other. An angel's warning carried urgency, not comfort, commanding him to rise, take the child and his mother, and flee before Herod's reach closed in. The message offered no explanation, only instruction. Joseph understood enough to obey. He had learned long before that faith was not built on clarity, but on trust, especially when responsibility outweighed understanding. Bethlehem lay quiet, unaware of the threat forming beyond its walls. Herod's fear of losing power had already turned toward violence, though the city still breathed in innocence, unaware a line had been crossed. Joseph rose before dawn, heart steady but heavy. He did not wake Mary with panic. Instead, he carried the weight quietly, knowing leadership sometimes meant shielding others from fear while carrying it alone. Years earlier, he had accepted a life he did not fully understand when he took Mary into his home. That same obedience now returned, demanding action without delay, proof that past faith prepares the soul for future trials. The road out of Bethlehem was dark and uncertain. Travel at night carried risk, yet remaining carried death. Joseph chose movement over safety, trusting that obedience itself was a form of protection. Mary followed without question, holding the child close. No words were needed. The silence between them was filled with shared trust, shaped by prayer, not panic, as they stepped into the unknown together. Behind them, Bethlehem slept. Ahead lay a foreign land and a future unspoken. The dream had ended, but its demand had only begun to unfold, testing whether obedience could outpace fear. Joseph did not know how long the journey would last. He only knew the warning had been real. That certainty would carry him forward, even as questions pressed harder with every step away from home. By nightfall, Saint Joseph had already set his course southward. The land beyond Bethlehem was unfamiliar, yet delay felt more dangerous than distance. He moved with urgency, shaped not by fear, but by obedience learned through years of quiet faith. The road toward Egypt stretched long and uncertain. Travelers rarely chose it without reason. Joseph knew the journey meant exile, not adventure, yet the dream's command echoed louder than exhaustion or doubt with every step forward. Mary noticed Joseph's silence deepen as they walked. He did not speak of Herod or angels. Instead, his calm carried resolve, shaped by earlier moments when he accepted responsibility without understanding the full cost. Years before, Joseph had faced suspicion when he chose to remain with Mary. That choice had already taught him how obedience isolates before it reassures. Now, that same lesson returned on a darker, colder road. The nights grew colder as they traveled. Shelter was uncertain. Each pause invited danger. Joseph measured every decision carefully, knowing that protection did not come from comfort, but from continuing forward despite the weight of responsibility. The child slept unaware of kings or threats. Watching him, Joseph understood that his role was not to be seen or praised, but to stand between innocence and violence, even if history never noticed his steps. By the time they crossed beyond familiar borders, Joseph felt the cost of obedience fully. Home was gone, security uncertain. Yet the dream had not misled him. Faith rarely removes danger. It redirects the path through it. Egypt was not a place of promise, but refuge. Its foreign streets offered anonymity, not belonging. Still, Joseph knew survival itself was obedience, and remaining alive was part of protecting what God had entrusted to him. Far behind them, Herod's violence would soon surface. Joseph could not see it yet, but the urgency of the dream suggested consequences beyond imagination, confirming that delay would have been a silent form of betrayal. The journey continued without reassurance or sign. No new dream followed. Only the memory of obedience remained, pressing Joseph onward, as each step carried him farther from danger and deeper into responsibility he never sought. In Egypt, life did not soften. Safety came without comfort. Saint Joseph worked quietly, blending into foreign streets, aware that survival itself had become obedience. The dream no longer echoed, yet its authority shaped every decision he made. Mary watched him carry the weight without complaint. The child grew unaware of danger past. Joseph understood that protection was not dramatic. It was repetition, endurance, and the willingness to remain unseen while fulfilling a sacred charge. Years later, Joseph would never speak of that dream. He treated it as a command fulfilled, not a story to repeat. Faith, he believed, weakened when it sought recognition instead of quiet completion. He remembered the night clearly, though. The urgency, the fear held at bay. That moment revealed something permanent. God's guidance often arrives without explanation, trusting obedience to carry what understanding cannot. When news finally came that Herod was dead, relief arrived quietly. No celebration followed. Joseph prepared to move again, knowing obedience rarely ends in rest. It simply changes direction when commanded. The return journey carried its own uncertainty. Nazareth was chosen without explanation. Joseph accepted it as before, understanding that God's plans unfold through ordinary places shaped by extraordinary trust. Joseph never knew how close danger had come. Scripture records the dream, not the fear. What remains is the result: a child protected, a promise preserved, because one man obeyed before asking why. That obedience would pass unnoticed by many. Yet its impact reached far beyond Egypt or Nazareth. The quiet decision to rise in the night altered history without ever drawing attention to itself. For believers, Joseph's dream remains more than a warning. It is a measure of faith defined not by visions received, but by action taken when obedience costs more than staying still. The dream ended long ago. Its demand did not. Every generation faces moments where silence, courage, and obedience must rise before understanding. Joseph's path reminds them what faith looks like when no one is watching.